It's been a long time since Porter Robinson put out an album. I was excited for it, but outside of the context of albums, I have to say, one of my favorite songs of all time is Shelter. It came out in 2016, Porter Robinson and Madian collab. It's one of the most comforting songs that I have ever heard, and it makes me feel good every single time. I didn't know where to put that in the review, so I'm sticking it right here in the intro, right in your face. Salutations, neighbor. You like that word, salutations? Bet you haven't heard that one in a while. Welcome back to ARTV Rogue. I'm John, and it's time for another Quickie album review. I want to talk about the new album, the first in 7 years. It's the sophomore set Nurture by the American DJ from a town in North Carolina that's only about an hour from where I live, Chapel Hill, North Carolina. This is Nurture by Porter Robinson. Worlds was a smash hit for him. That came out in 2014, and I got so many requests to talk about that album back in the day. I heard it, but by the time I got to it, it just didn't feel like it was the proper time to do a review, and I never did it. So to briefly kind of recap my thoughts on that, I wasn't in love with the album, but I thought it was a very uplifting, at times bubbly electronic album that was rooted in EDM, but it was very clear that Porter Robinson wanted to try out some new things. He was kind of breaking the mold, and I think that's why so many people appreciate his music. I love so many of the songs on that, including that closing track that just reaches this epic boiling point of everything, Goodbye to a World. A lot of people theorize that it was a concept record, and that, I think, kind of does sell you on the point that maybe there was an overall storyline to the album. There was just kind of some catharsis on a lot of those tracks. And going into this new one, I definitely had strong feelings on some of the songs like Musician, singles that came out ahead of time. And the album was often delayed, of course. The pandemic delayed it even further. And now that we've arrived at Nurture beforehand, I wanted to nurture and kind of relearn some of my electronic instincts myself. Because if you've kept up with ARTV in the past few years and you like electronic music, you've probably been sorely disappointed. Back in like 2014 to 2016, I covered a decent, small but decent amount of that on the channel. It's been a while since I've kind of fostered that love that I have for the genre. I love people like Madian, Skrillex back in the day. I was really into his stuff, Daft Punk. I'm not a huge, knowledgeable person on the subject matter, but still, I wanted to love Nurture, and now that I've experienced it, I got access to it a few days early from the label after reaching out to his team. I sat with it, and there are songs that I love and songs that I just don't really feel like they go anywhere. And that was a problem that I had with some of the moments on Worlds. And I think that one came out stronger because I felt like, at least for me, there was more catharsis, there was more payoff. And a lot of the tracks on Nurture, they slowly build. He really kind of juxtaposes these samples together in an odd manner, which I can respect. The sampling, I want it to amount to something. And by the end of, say, a 6-minute song like Wind Tempos, I just felt like we got a lot of weird sampling and mishmashing, and it feels like something is about to start. But imagine going up a roller coaster for like 6-7 minutes, and then you just never really drop off. Not that I'm expecting a big crazy EDM dubstep drop or anything. I just don't feel like some of these tracks actually really hook you for a reason to stay for as long as they run on. This is an hour-long album, and Worlds was long too, but I think it justified the runtime a bit more. Nurture is still a very, very sweet album, so please don't get it twisted and think that I hate this record for any reason or by any stretch of the phrase, because I don't. In fact, a lot of these songs, I kind of had a nice time. It felt like a blissed out experience, and I got that from, say, the opening track, Lifelike, and ones that I already mentioned, like the single, Musicians, and of course, the single, Look at the Sky, that one with the breezy vocals, and the fact that it actually does just kind of have this galloping trance to it. I appreciate the production work, and I guess a positive that I can say for all of Nurture as an album, there is attention to detail galore. It's extremely uplifting, and I think this is going to be a record that helps a lot of people, including maybe you if you're watching the video and you've never really checked out Porter's music, or maybe you're curious if you should check out this album. If you're looking for something to kind of spin your mood, to uplift your soul, then I think a lot of these songs do have that undeniable positivity about them, but they're also rooted in realism. Porter Robinson battled some pretty intense depression. I relate to a lot of the struggles and a lot of the ways that he finds to kind of vent and channel those outlets for his frustrations, for his sadness, for his anxiety and depression. It does work to a degree, but also some of it I kind of feel like I'm getting brick walled and I can't quite break on through to the other side. Porter is a fantastic DJ, don't get it twisted at all. I think that some of these tracks, especially in the back half, they try out some cool things. I appreciated that more classic styled tuning on the guitar that he brings into a track like Blossom. It's interesting, but the ideas, they are there, but they don't always amount to something. It's like you can write it down on paper, but if you don't flesh out the story in between, that it can just feel like bits and pieces. And for that reason, I think that Nurture doesn't have the best flow. I think it also comes across a bit scatterbrained in places. Some people will love it for that. I, on the other hand, I have a hard time getting through some of these tracks like Dull Scythe, for example, and Do, Re, Mi, Fa, So, whatever. I can't get through the entire thing because I don't know my scales. I think that I appreciate those not as much as maybe a different fan of electronic music or Porter would. And again, I'm out of my element. I'm just doing a quickie review because a lot of people have challenged me to talk about Porter Robinson, and I've wanted to. I really did. In fact, I was thinking about doing a review over on the main channel, but I thought that kind of a rambling style, it would almost make a little bit more sense because I don't feel like an expert in this genre, in this style in any way. And honestly, while this is an electronic album, there's a lot of other genres. This is definitely not something that you'd see necessarily popping off at an EDM festival or an Electric Forest or anything like that. There are songs that would fit that for sure, but overall it's much more intimate and spirited. So make of that what you will. I think my favorite tracks on here had to be Musician, of course, Look at the Sky. I really enjoyed the song Mother, which ironically another album that came out this week, the one from Kaleo, the closing track on that one was about a mother again, Into My Mother's Arms, and now we have Mother by Porter Robinson. It's made me just very emotional, going through some stuff in my own life right now, and just I reached out to my mom. I actually shared these songs with her, and it just made me feel better. It really did. So I appreciate the comfort that I received from that track. I think that's my top 3. I also enjoyed tracks like Blossom as well, but I would love to know what you guys are thinking too. Have you checked out or streamed or purchased this album, Nurture by Porter Robinson? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. I hope you enjoyed this little quickie, off the cuff, one take unscripted review. These are my honest thoughts and feelings on it. I'm going to rate this a 3 out of 5. If you want to stream the album for yourself, then there is a link to check it out in the description down below. If you want to see another electronic review from a long time ago from me, then maybe give that a go. It's on screen now, or check out another recent quickie over here. All of my socials are tucked away in the description, and I'll be back soon with more right here on ARTV Rogue. Be sure to subscribe.